Hello again everybody and welcome to this scenario called Fighter Weapons School GAT 5 and 6 1977. It's one of the default scenarios that comes with Command Modern Air Naval Operations. And I'll have a link to a description and the product page of Command in the video description if you're not familiar with it, but yeah, stay tuned if you're interested in seeing what this is all about. It's going to be about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to fly through this. The way that I do these is fly through them. It ends up being more or less in real time, although I do use time compression at times, but what I do also is really pay attention to what's going on and try to make it a little bit of a learning experience for myself and I guess for anybody watching about the aircraft and the systems that are being used and the way that they interact as we get into this. So I think you'll find it enjoyable if you like the sort of things that I've done in the past in flight sims, and I'll go through the mission briefing and I'll also have a link you can click on right about now to skip forward to the gameplay if you're not interested in the briefing. But I do think for a long series like this that it's interesting and useful to go through this so that we all know what's going on. So I'll go through this real quick. It's the USAF versus OPFOR opposing forces. The date is 21st July 1977, 1600 Zulu. So it's a scenario that's set in the not too distant past, but we're going to be using F-4E Phantoms and exploring some of the capabilities that they have. So the introduction, established in 1954 and reinvigorated by lessons learned in Vietnam, the USAF Fighter Weapons School is the ultimate proving ground for the Air Force's best fighter pilots. In 1977, the curriculum centered around the F-4E Phantom multi-role fighter, which put students through a comprehensive syllabus of air-to-ground attack challenges. The final section was on ground attack tactics and culminated in the GAT 5 and 6 exercises run simultaneously with one section of aircraft striving for air-to-ground success and another for air superiority. Called the world's most demanding peacetime mission, GAT 5 and 6 required 8 students to attack an assigned target protected by staunch ground and air defenses. It was the fighter pilot's graduate thesis and the final obstacle on their path to returning home with the coveted bullseye patch. Scenario notes: there are many challenges to overcome. You have 4 Phantoms outfitted for air-to-air and 4 Phantoms outfitted for air-to-ground, including 2 with PGMs, precision-guided munitions, laser-guided bombs. Against you are SAMs, AAA, and a heavy dose of OPFOR F-5E fighters. There is no support from GCI, that's Ground Control Intercept, EW, Electronic Warfare, or SEAD, Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses, SS. Just 8 planes and a mission. Good luck! Thanks. Okay, so scoring. I'm not going to worry about the scoring. I'll make my own assessment as we go, but if you're interested, scoring is simple. The aircraft revetment targets are worth 15 points, and all other OPFOR targets are worth 10 points to the USAF. Each lost Phantom loses them 20 points. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this, and I'll go ahead and load the scenario. And we have the side briefing, which includes nothing that we didn't see before. So let's go ahead and select the side, the USAF, and I'm going to take the default preferences and start the scenario. And it puts us on the map looking at the Nevada Test and Training Range. We have Nellis Air Force Base down here, and I'm going to go ahead and look at the aircraft we have available at Nellis. I opened this aircraft option up, and I have 8 Phantoms just like it said. Blackjack 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are going to be, I'll set these up as a 2-ship flying with GBU-10 AB, old Paveway 1 style Mark 84s. They have a Pave Spike Pod and the ALQ 119 ECM Pod. Okay, so that's going to be a 2-ship, and I'll start to sort out and come up with a plan here in just a second. I already have something in mind. Then I have Blackjack 3 and 4 armed with Mark 20 Rockeye cluster bombs. These are anti-tank, anti-vehicle cluster bombs. They'll be able to go in on a target and have them disperse over the ground, and just all the individual submunitions, bomblets, will explode and penetrate any armored targets and throw enough fragmentation around to really knock anything out. And I think that's what I'm going to use against this SA-3 side that we have up against us as well. And then we have Reno 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are going to be F-4s armed with AIM-7F Sparrows, sort of medium range, semi-active radar-guided missiles, as well as AIM-9J Sidewinders, heat-seeking, short-range infrared-guided missiles. So let's think about a little bit of how we want to set this up and have a look at the target area. Now, one thing I am going to do with this is I have the relief layer on right now, and that's going to give me a good idea of the terrain. So Let me also enable some overhead imagery. I'm going to kind of bootleg a little bit of imagery for the Nellis Air Force Base and the target area from a scenario done by Tomcat 84 that I'll be getting to very, very soon. It's the Red Flag 2017 scenario. Best scenario for air-to-air. I mean, nothing against this one. This is pretty good for like a lighter, a simpler scenario. But Red Flags 2017, if you're looking for air combat and just a realistic depiction of not only a Red Flag scenario, but just air combat in the present and near future in general, check that out, and I sure will be here soon. But let me put in the overhead imagery real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, and the imagery is in place. Let me zoom in on the target area and we'll have a look at what we're up against. Now, the known threat in the area is an SA3 GOA site. And let me go to the database real quick. And this is what I love about this simulation or war game or whatever you want to call it. It gives you database entries and they're just thoroughly researched. I mean, this is drawing on the tradition of like the old Harpoon type of war games, and it's just enthusiasts in this sort of thing are just obsessive about the data that goes into it. So it's drawing on a lot of experience just over the years from a lot of people, and it's just immaculately researched. So we can see that the SA3 GOA has three components: flat face, air search radar with a range of 135 nautical miles. It has the low blow SNR 125 radar illuminator, medium range type radar. That'll be the, I guess, the acquisition, or I should say targeting radar, or radar illuminator, I guess would be a better term for it. And that's what comes on to track the target and to help guide the missile. And then it has the SA3 TV camera. It has a 40-mile visual range, and that's under just optimum circumstances. So, and that's used for visual and target tracking and ID of targets. Now it has 4 launchers, SA3 GOA rails, and is defended also by some SA7 Grail manpads, man-portable air defense systems. So if I get really, really close to it, I run the risk of getting engaged by some short-range IR SAMs. But yeah, the primary threat is going to be just the missile capability inherent to the SA3. So if I exit out of this real quick and we can see the information that's given to us on the map, you see the dashed red line, maximum aerodynamic range of the missile system. So when I get within this ring, I would expect to be engaged by that SA3. Now the search radar goes all the way out to the dashed white line that we see here. So as soon as I take off from Nellis, once I get some altitude and get above the terrain, the SA3 side is going to be tracking me. So I need to keep that in mind, and I'll try, and part of my plan is to use the terrain to mask my approach when it comes to taking out this SA3. Now, other stuff that we have in the area, now the primary target, and this is why I brought up the imagery right here, these are the pretty standard range targets that you would see engaged just during day-to-day operations or during a red flag mission or fighter weapons school missions like we have right here. And I just have 4 aircraft revetment type targets out there. If I come to the database entry for the revetment, it's a structure, revetted, not armored, 300 damage points, and that's going to be important when it comes to allocating munitions to it and ensuring that I have enough weapons going in, kind of weaponeering this to ensure that the target goes down. And I've got 4 of these. Those are the primary targets for the mission. So let me exit out of this real quick. And it's interesting, especially as a DCS flight simmer, we're expecting the Nellis terrain to come out, and that's why I wanted to focus on this as well as the Red Flag 2017 scenario. It's to give prospective mission designers an idea of a proper use of the Nevada Test and Training Range terrain. I'm sure there are going to be some ridiculous scenarios that come out associated with this, but if you're looking for a realistic use of it, like a lot of DCS players are, yeah, focus on this scenario and the Red Flag 2017. That's why I'm doing these up front. So now the key is to think about how we need to allocate our assets to take these targets out and how we need to deal with the air threat. We are expecting some F5s from up in this area, and how we're going to plan this mission overall. So let me come back to my aircraft and have a little bit closer look at what we have here. Now, Blackjack 1 and 2, and I can see down here the details that we get as part of this screen at the bottom. Okay, 2x AIM-7F, 2x GBU-10, and if I go to the GBU-10, I can see that it's a laser-guided bomb, has just a basic probability of hit and reliability rating of 75%. Sounds about right for like a Paveway 1 style. That actually might be a little bit optimistic, come to think of it, for a Paveway 1. But these are going to be launched from higher altitude, anywhere from 10 to 65,000 feet. and the range is going to be dependent on the altitude, anywhere from just essentially point blank to about 4 nautical miles if you launch from a higher altitude and allow them to glide into the target. And we have valid targets for this: surface ships, land targets, hard and soft, mobile units, runways. So this is going to do 643.5 damage points, and that's kind of the way that the damage system works, is that we have the targets with 300 points, and a GBU 10 like this with the Mark 84 bomb body will do 643. So assuming we get a hit, we can count on one of these bombs taking out the target. Now, unfortunately, we only have 2 aircraft with this type of munition, and they can only engage 1 target at a time. So I have 4 targets, and this might require, actually will require, 2 runs on the target in order to take out all 4 of them. That would be the ideal situation. I'll have to evaluate that based on the air threat. If we run into a lot more air opposition than I expect, it might just be a quick dash for the target and then just a quick dash for the finish line. And that's also going to depend on the status of the SA3 site. Now, I'll focus on this a little bit and think about how I'm going to get these GBU-10 shooters in there into the target. And it's a good opportunity, before I get too far ahead of myself, to go over my overall plan. I haven't even told you what my plan is, other than in general terms. So the key is to get those F4s with GBU-10s into the target. The primary opposition to that is going to be SA3 right here by the target area, as well as fighter opposition that I'm expecting to be up here to the north and slightly west, and then fighters, opposing force fighters, F5s, pushing down from the northwest to intercept and to disrupt my strike package. So what I need to do is figure out how I can suppress this SA3, deal with the fighter opposition, and get those GBU-10s onto the target. So let me come in here, zoom in just slightly. And of course, I'm going to be starting at Nellis Air Force Base. I'm going to have an overall plan of two ships of air-to-air fighters going north from Nellis. I'm going to try to sort of have these kind of stacked high-low. A 2-ship going up here about 40,000 feet, cutting across to the northwest, and trying to draw that fighter opposition up here to the north and to the east out of the target area. So that's going to be the high stack. I'm going to have the low stack kind of following this flight in and trying to kind of get behind the fighters as they push to intercept this flight. So if everything goes according to plan, this flight goes up as a decoy, this flight comes around the back and intercepts anything that is trying to go after this flight, and this flight is going to pull them in this direction. So that's the theory, at least, and it's all going to depend on just how effective I can be at drawing those opposing fighters off. Now, the reason I would do that, try to draw them off in that direction, is that I have 2 other 2 ships. It's my 2-ship of, and it's going to be my seed flight, suppression of enemy air defenses, or hopefully destruction of enemy air defenses flight. It's going to be the one with the Mark 20 Rockeye. So I'm going to take off, cut across here down the road from Creech Air Force Base, which is actually where it would be right here, and skirt around the south of Yucca Flats, and then come in from the south using this terrain as a mask to keep me out of the radar sight picture of the SA3. It then gets down into the lower level terrain and hopefully takes out that SA3 going in from south to north. Now behind them, following maybe 2 to 3 minutes in trail, is going to be the GBU-10 strike package, which unfortunately consists of 2 F4s. They're going to hold here slightly just to assess the air picture, and then push in from the south to north, skirting around as much as possible and I'll zoom in here real quick into the target area, trying to avoid that SA3 envelope as much as possible. So having that strike package, once this SA3 goes down, then I'll be able to either work unopposed, or if the SA3 side stays up, at least I'll be able to have the 2-ship ingress kind of offset and not directly overfly the SA3 side, and that'll give an opportunity to egress off to the northwest, and any shot coming off of that SA3 side will be kind of a high deflection shot, kind of not a head-on, which can be difficult to avoid, and not exactly a trailing, shooting at the back of it. It will just be kind of skirting in and out of the SA3's engagement envelope. But hopefully that won't even be a factor, because with any luck, that SA-3 site will go down. So that's the plan, and I don't know if I mentioned it during the mission briefing, but one of the stipulations is that I have to get at least one aircraft up here into this little finish area to the north and to the west, and that'll probably be one of my fighters that I have up here in the northwest area. Once my fighters start to push in and try to push that F5 OP4 fighter opposition back, I'll probably have one of them egress up here. Otherwise, I'm just going to pull my entire force back towards Nellis, using whatever path that I can get them back home in. So that's the plan, at least. And let me show a little bit more about the terrain down here and show you some more of the benefit that we get by the terrain. You can see it here in the relief layer, how it's a very, very rugged terrain, and I'll bring it up on Google Earth as well so you can have a good look. So taking off from Nellis, coming up the corridor past the Creech Air Force Base, past Yucca Flats, and then coming in from south to north into the target area, which is going to be right here. This is the, actually it's right here, that's in the scenario at least, where these targets are. So if I come down here to sort of an isometric view, you can see the terrain. So I'm going to be using this, ingressing the seed flight in at low level, and also ingressing the strike package in at low level. The seed flight will come over the terrain right here, and straight into the target area, which the SA-3 side has briefed will be, I think it's kind of right out here in this area, and the revetment targets were, I believe, right up here. I'm actually a little bit, no, that was it. Yeah, right here, kind of on this little ridge. So that's the plan, at least, and I think it's about a good opportunity to take a break in the video. So I'll come back next time and we'll get into setting up the missions for this and showing you the nuts and bolts of how command works and how I'm going to manage the flight paths, the altitudes, ingress routes, and all that good stuff, and how I'm actually going to make this happen within command. So as always with a new series, if this is something that you're enjoying so far, or if I think you might enjoy and want to see some more of, please do consider subscribing to the channel. You'll see these right as they come out. Also consider leaving a like if you are enjoying this sort of thing. That does help me out by skewing the YouTube search results in my favor a little bit. And also leave a comment. Your feedback and your suggestions and recommendations are much appreciated. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.